until Election Day. Former First Lady Michele Obama is out with a new video making her final and quite angry closing arguments against President Trump.
Our current president has devoted his life to enriching himself, his family, and other wealthy people. He boasts about gains in the stock market. But when you look at the lives of regular folks, whether it's creating blue-collar jobs, making healthcare more affordable, protecting the environment, keeping our families safe from gun violence, let alone the coronavirus, there's nothing much to brag about.
Regular folks? What does Michele understand about those folks? Did she record that video at her home in Martha's Vineyard, or was it Maui, Bel Air, or Calorama? Unless we remind the former First Lady, we now know that Trump has lost money serving his country, unlike some other recent first families who cashed in after they left office. And because Joe Biden has almost no actual accomplishments or platform to tout, Michele played the most predictable card of all.
They're stoking fears about Black and brown Americans, whipping up violence and intimidation, and they're pinning it all on what's been an overwhelmingly peaceful movement for racial solidarity. It is racist. But that doesn't mean it won't work.
Chicago just saw its deadliest September in 25 years. How many times have the Obamas gone back to Chicago to speak out against this horrific rise in murders? Michele's appeal is much like Joe's, lacking in any real details about how Democrats would make your life better. They had 8 years to do it, while washing their hands, of course, all their failures from their time in the White House. Joining me now for a reaction, Dinesh D'Souza, whose new film, Trump Card, is available on demand this Friday, and Cynthia Garrett, founder of Cynthia Garrett Ministries and author of I Choose Victory. Dinesh, this was classic Michele, pure grievance, and underneath it all, a lot of vitriol.
Yes, I think that Michele, with this kind of customary Obama duplicity, divides the protests into two categories. There are the peaceful protests, and then presumably the violent protests where people get hurt or killed. And she goes, well, the violent protests are a small minority of all the overall protests. Now, she very cleverly leaves out a third category of protests, which probably represents a majority of the protests. And these are the protests of intimidation, of knocking down statues, of defacing property, of accosting people in front of their homes, of disrupting restaurants, of going to birthday parties and overturning the tables, of stopping traffic and pulling people out of their cars. So there's a pattern here with Antifa, with Black Lives Matter, of a culture of intimidation. And this is the norm at the protests. This is not some outlying exception, but by dividing protests into just peaceful and violent, Michele camouflages the fact that she and Obama are sort of the authors of this Alinskyite strategy of the intimidation of the street. It really goes back to something Goebbels said a generation ago: who controls the street controls the nation. And this has been the Alinskyite doctrine that the Obamas have lived by.
Here's more from Michele Obama's message.
As a Black woman, the knowledge that any of my fellow Americans is more afraid of me than the chaos we are living through right now, well, that hurts. Racism, fear, division. These are powerful weapons, and they can destroy this nation if we don't deal with them head on.
Cynthia, as a Black woman yourself, what about her message there?
I mean, I got to tell you, Laura, I'm joining you tonight from Tennessee, and over the weekend, a beautiful Black woman walked up to me. She was married to a white man, and they had a mixed daughter, and she came up to me and she said, I just want to say thank you. She said, I want to say thank you because you're daring to be bold enough to risk probably very close friends of yours liking you by speaking the truth. There are a lot of us Black women who listened to Michele's words and were disappointed. We're disappointed because right now this country needs leadership that unifies, that heals. She's saying that Trump is a divisive, thing in this country, yet she's using division to attack him. The hypocrisy of it all is overwhelming, and the lack of wisdom is really just shocking to me because she knows better. Because she knows what it takes to lead, and she's choosing not to lead, but to pander to fear. They're using racism. You know, race is the easiest way to control a people and a nation. Yeah, you get them on the streets, you get them fighting, and you control them. And for what? For greed and power. And the Democratic Party, I am sorry, that I once was a part of, has done nothing since the day that they lost this election but divide and twist and manipulate. And I, for one, am not going to sit by and not say the truth about it. It's horrible.
Dinesh, I also find it odd that Michele doesn't have issues with Joe Biden making comments like this.
The reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
Dinesh, this was just brought to the media's attention yesterday. I mean, if Trump said something like that, it would lead every evening newscast quickly.
And yet it's so habitual of the Democrats to harbor these views which keep slipping out in public. Look, their strategy is division. It's race division, black against white. It's gender division, male against female. It's transgender division, gay against straight. It's legal against illegal. It's very obvious that they're trying to create a democratic majority by cobbling together a coalition of aggrieved victim groups. That's their electoral strategy.
Cynthia.